Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 240, Muppets Most Wanted from 2014. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Fairy Tale Mysteries, The Puppet Thief, available on Steam. When evil puppeteers kidnap souls of innocent children, you're assigned your first mission as Brothers Grimm Investigator. Shout out to The Puppet Thief on Steam.
After the break, we'll be talking about Muppets Most Wanted, Michael McGahn's patron pick. But first up, extracurricular activities. Joe, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
I've actually been doing one specific thing, and I have to give a shout out to Brian Late Night Rodriguez. You see, you gave me your tongue twisters. I hope that you keep.
Why
the
cut
intro.
that out? Nope. No.
I hope you put it at the end as like a blooper reel. But Joey took
I don't do that.
75 takes to do the intro today.
My goal in editing now is to make myself look good and make you look worse. So
that's always how. It's not hard. So I'm glad I'm making your job easier. But I blew through all of Formula One Drive to Survive in like the past week, and it is really awesome. Highly recommended. Brian was 1,000% right. A bunch of my friends had been watching it for a long time. I think that even you might like it. It's like reality TV show of Formula One. So even if you're not big into the cars, it's cool because it's more about the dynamics of like the teams battling each other and the young drivers and the older driver on the same team and how they react to each other and how they can, work together for the team, and drivers that are just like trying to look out for themselves. Super cool. Blew through all 4 seasons of it. So that's pretty much what I've been up to for the past week, other than that, like laying low. I think that you guys should check it out if you haven't already. I actually told Wes about it because he was talking to me about something else, and I was like, I think that even he would like it because, like I said, it's not like, oh, this is like this part of the engine that they're doing and things like that. It's just like, this guy wants to win and this is why he wants to beat the other guy and stuff like that. So I thought it was really cool. What have you been up to, brother?
Well, on Thursday, I saw the film Men in theaters, the Alex Garland film Men, Jesse Buckley, A24. Do you know about this? Have you seen trailers for this?
No, I haven't.
So it's largely just about how men are terrible, men are creepy, it's hard to be a woman in the world. So the best review that I saw for this was just like, this is a great movie, but the people who need to see this aren't going to see it. Because,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
makes sense. Yeah.
If you're creepy, like I don't want to judge, but like I would say that most people who are into A24, and this is also probably a broad generalization, but people who are into A24 horror movies, like sort of like a very kind of liberal, whatever mindset, whatever, are probably pretty, good to other people, I would imagine, right? So like there's not a lot of crossover between people like, ooh, I got to go see this Jesse Buckley horror movie by Alex Garland, right? Like, and
yeah.
Whatever. But it's great. So I highly recommend that. It's in theaters only now. I'm sure it'll be on demand, in a month or something, because A24, gets somewhere pretty quickly. But highly recommend that. Then on Friday night, I had my friends Desiree and Ben, friend of the show. She's written in before. Desiree Curry came in. They came into town because this past weekend was my barbecue.
Nice.
So I had my annual family barbecue. It was great. You were not there.
I was feeling under the weather.
Hate me.
No, I was feeling under the weather. Don't want to inflict anyone with some cooties. But how was it?
It was great. Very, very hot. I got angry because like on Monday and Tuesday it was like 91. No. On Saturday and Sunday it was 95 and 91. And then yesterday, today, and on Monday, so all 3 days this week have been like 70 to 75 and
Beautiful.
Absolutely perfect. And
Gorgeous.
I walked outside on Monday and I got angry. I was like, why is it this nice today? Why couldn't this have been like this yesterday? But it was great. It didn't rain, which is the important thing.
Last year at your barbecue I think it was last year.
Every year it's
also
hot.
Stupid hot for no reason. It's just
every
like
year it's
cursed.
Hot. This was like the hottest it had been this year. I think it had been like 82-ish, and it was 95 and then 91. So
nice.
Normal stuff, but it was great. Yeah, I had friends of the show, Mike Manzi and the resident historian, and Brian Late Night Slumber Party Rodriguez came down on Saturday. I'm trying to think if other people from the show or people that we would have known or been there. I'm probably forgetting people. Oh, Nico was there. Nico, Kevo, and Jonah came on Sunday, which was
very cool. Yeah.
Chris Podcast was there both days. He stayed over. But yeah, a lot of friends who were in this sphere came over, so it was great. I wish it was cooler, but it did not rain, which is the important thing, and a good turnout, and lots of food and family and friends. So that was very nice. And I think that was largely it. Last night we did a bonus episode for the Patreon of
Which was
Thief,
awesome.
the Michael Mann film Thief. So that's out now as you listen to this. So go check that out. And I think that's basically it, because next week we'll get into at the end of this episode what we're doing over the next couple of weeks, the next few weeks, because that'll sort of dictate the short-term future. All good things, nothing bad, but I've got some exciting things coming up. But yeah, that's basically it. I think I made a video game called Death's Door, which is like an indie game, which is kind of like a Souls-like, so sort of similar to the Dark Souls games like Elden Ring, kind of, but much smaller and not as brutally difficult, but it was fun, so I enjoyed that. So it's free on Game Pass. If you're out there playing games, you want to check out that one, check out Death's Door.
While you're buying The Puppet Thief.
The Puppet Thief, or the Fairy Tale Mysteries, The Puppet Thief by Big Fish Games.
Exactly.
But speaking of the Patreon bonus episode, we have a Patreon page here on the show, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, Renato Di Donato, the Man of the Hour, Michael McGahn, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above. And Joe, I got a very exciting thing. Since last time, new $1 patron, meet Grant Rinner. So he joined us for an episode last time and then kicked in $1, I guess, to listen to his episode early. So thank you. Shout out to Grant.
Grant was
for
a
joining
fun
the
guy,
family.
man. He was like so joyous and stoked to just bullshit with us, and I think that you probably left it in, but he kind of put his foot in the door to maybe come back sometime. So yeah, I'm excited. He was a good dude.
Yeah, for sure. So shout out to Grant. Thank you, Grant, for joining us. But we have an email address, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, once again, no emails, no new emails. So we're still waiting on people to email in family@cageclub.me. We got an email for boyfriend material asking us, because the trailer for The Gray Man, which is the new Gosling, Ana de Armas, Chris Evans movie directed by the Russo brothers, coming to Netflix this summer, trailer came out this week, and so I do not know how to pronounce his name. I also don't think it's somebody from Serbia, who I don't think is listening to this show. Maybe they are, I don't know, but they loved boyfriend material, and they hope that we return for that. There's also a new Zac Efron movie, Firestarter, so we got some stuff to do, once things settle down a little bit this summer. So we got some options. We got some studly men to come back. And also, I know there's something that you don't quite know about that I know about that will be happening long term, which we'll get to eventually, which I just want you to be a little bit scared, a little bit intrigued, but it's happening eventually.
Okay.
But that's all the emails again, family@cageclub.me if you want to write in. Joe, on the streets, news by the Fast and Furious, one big thing and one smaller thing that I have, at least.
One huge thing that happened, and it happened again immediately after we recorded, right?
No, wait, what? Hold on, what?
The huge news, I thought, are we talking about the same huge news?
Well, there was something, the big new casting news only happened like a day or two ago.
Oh, okay. I for some reason in my brain that it happened right after we recorded last week.
No, I don't think so. I mean, right after last week, we the little news, and little, very appropriate, was right after we recorded that Scott Eastwood is coming back for Fast X.
That's right. Okay.
He's returning as Little Nobody. That did happen a day or so within us recording.
Okay, so I mixed the two, but okay, cool. Yes, one of them did happen right after we recorded, and I made a joke about it, but then something bigger happened. Yes, okay, cool.
But then the big news this week is that Rita Moreno, we had joked about her, we had talked about her, we had referenced the possibility that she could join the family, is officially joining Fast 10 as Dom's grandmother, which feels too old. I mean, I know that she's 90, but Vin is 54. It feels like she could probably play a mother as opposed to her grandmother, but who knows? I don't know.
I don't know either, but this was so spooky to me because if you guys were listening, you know that, like, I think even the last episode Brian was on, but, like, I can't keep track. It was maybe the one before that or something like that. Brian specifically brought this up and casted her in Fast and the Furious. And it was like, kind of a little bit out there, right? Like that's not like a
I don't know. There are not that many older ethnic women in Hollywood still working. And ethnic, I mean just not white.
that's fair, touche. But still, this feels like a little yeah. So when we talked about this, I was like, I think Brian was the one who said this, and he said it months ago, like maybe almost like at least 6 months, probably a year. And I'm like talking to him about this, and we're like trying to figure out if this is another case of we feel like they're listening to us, or we're just in so deep that like if you start to connect the dots, we'll eventually just get shit right.
I think it's partly they're definitely not listening to us. I know that for
No.
a fact. I know you keep saying that, and I know it would be awesome if they were. They're definitely not. But I do think that we've done enough episodes of this. We're closing in on 250, where it's like we've said so many names, we've offered so many names up, and I was also saying this to you. Like there's so many times you're like anybody's just like, oh my god, it's Crank. It's Jason Statham and Crank in like a sports thing. It's just like, well, yeah, I mean, we've done like 125 movies or something. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
the more our spider web sort of goes out into the world, the more it's like, oh yeah, we got that, right? Like so,
Yes. True,
you know,
fair. I
I I do think the only thing that would really truly prove Too Fast Too Forever as creative consultants for the podcast for the franchise is if No Knees Denise returns.
yeah, okay,
Because
like
no one
look,
else wants that.
guys, if you're like listening, just drop in a Denise reference in 10, Vin. Just one Denise reference in 10, no knees Denise, or just a no knees reference, and then we'll know that we've been talking, okay? That's it. That's all I want. So,
That's all we
just
want.
just for clarity, no knees Denise in 10 at some
Yes.
point. Quick
Yeah.
reference, and then
Easy.
we'll know.
Easy. Just do
Easy.
it.
Yeah, that's a one-liner. I mean, like, we've heard some really dumb one-liners in the Fastiverse, but like, just give us that one, and we'll know that you're directly talking to us.
Yeah. I think that's all the news that came out of last week, though. There was a Scott Eastwood returning, because we were also talking about how the week before we had done Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, so then last week we were like, oh, we didn't forget about the connection. You're like, I didn't know he was his son, blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about him, and then it was the weird timing that it's like, oh, he's
Dead
coming
on.
back, which makes sense.
Yep.
And then Rita Moreno, but I think that's all the news. There's, Vin Diesel's sharing a lot of things on his Instagram, so if you want, like, pictures of him and Jordana, him and Michelle, him and
By
this,
the
him
way,
and that, whatever.
I've been seeing a lot of Jordana Brewster's posts on Twitter because I'm not a big Instagrammer. I think that they're just shared from Instagram. She's been posting a ton of stuff too, like pictures of like people on set and her, and she looks great and great follow. So check that out if you haven't.
Yeah. Joe, is Dwayne Johnson in Fast 10?
No, I don't think he is at all.
But he is in just like the franchise is ending with a two-part series or two-part movie event or whatever. If that's still the case, who knows? Young Rock season 2 ended with a two-part episode extravaganza, which we did not know about.
Which was a cluster fuck this morning.
I watched the first like 9. So the way, if anybody follows, I don't think anybody saw this on Twitter because nobody interacted with us on Twitter about this, but I put a PSA out there and I was like, hey, if you're watching Young Rock to watch season 2 and you're watching it on Hulu, Hulu is just going to prompt you to watch the finale because you and I both separately, different houses, different devices, opened
Yes.
up Young Rock and I was just like, hey, here's the finale. Watch the finale. We're like, cool.
No, it said up next on Young Rock for me on like Hulu. So I was like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah, yes, it's in the keep
keep
watching row for me.
Keep
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, if you're watching, like, like I'm watching X Files, there's obviously not new episodes of X Files, but it's just like, hey, you watch the one, here's the next one.
Yep.
And so last week we talked about episode 10, and then here we go, it's episode 12, and I was like, maybe.
So you messaged me this morning, and you're like, "Hey, like, which did you watch? Something like,
Because I was
they
like, there's
fucked
two
up.
episodes, because I watched the first 9 minutes, and then I was looking something up, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't the right episode title. And then I looked back, and there have been two. So last night, as we record this, on Tuesday the 24th, they
Yes.
aired 2 new episodes back-to-back, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of shows do that to wrap up a season. They'll do like
Do
a
they?
full hour special, whatever. Yeah, it just premieres and finales. It's not uncommon for that to do it.
But they usually do it as like a double bonus episode, not 2 episodes back to back. Is what I am
It depends. So,
accustomed
like,
to.
what I think, and this is also what it goes to show about the storytelling in Young Rock, the way they tell these stories is that each of these is so standalone that, like,
Yes,
it's,
yes, yes, yes.
the through line of him running for president, which, spoilers, loses, which we'll talk about that.
Oh God.
It's so standalone there that, like, it doesn't, like, it's not like an hour long finale. It's two very different stories. It's about the Saudi Arabia thing and him joining the WWF, and then it's
Yes.
about the finale here and a lot more modern day, and then little Dewey balancing four girls and blah blah blah. So it's not like it was one like long thing where it's like an hour in Saudi Arabia or an hour at the WWF or whatever. It's like just two episodes. So it's a
It's
little
two
weird, but
separate
it's
episodes.
not
Yeah.
rare, right?
And I think this probably plays into, I think, like, maybe we were talking to Nico and Kevo about, like, episode, like, structured number of episodes. They probably, like, had to hit 12 or so, whatever, right? Like, instead of one super long 11th episode, it was 11 and 12 because there's 12, whatever. Okay.
Who knows? But we have season 2, episode 11. You got to get up. You got to get down to get up. And then season 2, episode 12. Let the people decide. So, in the one that we both skipped, that we went back to, Forrest Whitaker is back. Has wine cellars everywhere, and at the end of the episode, comes back with Julian in what feels like a very frustrating and waste of time for Julian to be in this episode as well.
Because I originally watched
Yes,
episode 12, I was like, oh, this is a pretty good episode.
which is the actual finale. Yes.
The actual finale, I was like, it's, like, interesting turn that he doesn't win. They really, like, kind of side-burnered that Julian shit. Like, I can't believe they've been dragging us along all season, and then at the end they're just like, oh, like...
They resolve it off screen.
Yeah, they resolve it off screen, essentially. They come back and they're like, okay, like, we took a picture together, everything's fine, like... Julian's kid is much like Julian was and doesn't believe his dad knows The Rock, and that's why he started this, blah, blah, blah. Like, cyclical trauma, I guess, but, like, the funniest, lamest possible version of that, and generational trauma. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Maybe I missed something, like, but it feels like something that they would do. Turns out that's exactly what they did anyways, right?
Yeah, so it starts with they're like, hey, my son is pissed. Julian's like, my son is pissed because he thinks that The Rock hates my dad. He's like, just take a picture with me, we'll post it, and then, like, that's fine. So it's like, oh, that's all it took. So I'm just
Yes.
like, oh, it's weird that all season long we've been building toward this thing that was supposed to be like, this is the main obstacle in him becoming the president.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
Julian showing up and being like, you're a bad guy, America needs to know.
And he's, like,
And so-
ruining his whole bid for election by just, like, fighting with this guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so they resolved it off screen. That's weird, but that's fine. Whatever. We're moving on. At least that's over. And then I realized, oh, I missed an episode. I guarantee you, episode 11 is all about Julian. And it's all about, like, coming
Yep.
to terms and whatever.
Yep.
And he shows up with 3 minutes left, and he's just basically like, fuck you, The Rock. We're done. You're a terrible guy. I hope you lose. And then The Rock's like, well, there's nothing I can do. And he's like, but wait a minute, there is. And the episode ends. And it's like, wait, hold on, what?
And it kind of just does the, like, you don't even need that to get to the next episode. So, like, they did exactly what we were worried about. Like, or what, like, I was bitching about.
So he just needs to take a picture with his kid, and that's it. So I'm just like, all right. So the Julian thing, not great. It turns out that the real roadblock to him becoming the president is this third party, the Chrome Party, which is not winning states, but is, like, taking votes away from him.
Ha 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 ha.
What?
That was kind of like the 2016 election story, right? Like, that's what they stole.
I guess.
Like, the Green Party's pilfering votes to
I mean, that's always been, like,
the idea, yeah.
What I was more trying to figure out was, is he running as a Republican or a Democrat? Because he wins Ohio, which is a swing state, but he loses New York in a surprise.
What
And New
color
York,
are the states? I don't remember now that you said this because I wasn't
well,
paying
New York
attention.
is almost always Democrat. It's
No,
almost
no, no.
always
I
goes-
mean, when they showed it on the show.
Oh no,
like,
I'm saying he wins Ohio, but he loses New York. So if
Okay.
he loses, but he's supposed to win New York. It's a surprise he loses New York. So, like,
This is in the future. I'm saying when they showed the states, though, what color did they show them? That should be the giveaway. Like.
oh no, it was
'cause
like
he
orange
wins
and green.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
they did a very distinct. We're not
Gonna address
Republican,
this.
Democrat. Yes, but I'm
Okay,
still
okay.
trying to think because we know in real life The Rock is a Republican, but not in favor of Trump. Whatever, right?
Is he? Is that
So
true? I don't know.
yeah, remember he did the whole like I think he did like the whole jabroni, like he did that whole Instagram thing coming out against Trump, I
I believe
believe.
that, but I didn't know that he like announced a party affiliation.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that he is somewhat publicly Republican.
Okay. Yeah, I just never caught it.
Because we talked about that in here before about like if he runs, he would not run as a Democrat. He would probably run as a Republican.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's like the Schwarzenegger type thing, right?
So
Caitlyn Jenner too. That makes sense. Yeah.
so it's a surprise he loses New York, and New York always goes Democrat. So I'm like, okay, but Ohio's a swing state. But he wins Texas, which is very Republican, but loses Michigan, another swing state. He loses Florida, a swing state. He loses California, which is always Democrat. So like it's like this weird. So he's Republican, but he was supposed to win New York, and I don't know why. So who
It's in the
knows what?
future. Yeah, yeah.
It's not that far in the future.
Shit changes, man. Don't worry.
Not that quickly. Not that quickly. Not in what's this 10 years?
Yeah, I think 10 or 20.
2032, I think, right? So
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
that's the real come up though at the end is that he loses the election, and the last line of the season is "I lost, but the journey is never over." So I don't know what next season's going to be. I mean, it was renewed for season 3, but I don't know. I don't know what this is going to be.
Well, I think this is part of my theory that like remember we were talking and I was like are they going to run this until election season or something like that? Now they could just do the heat just running in the next election or preparing for like he can start a new cycle essentially.
For another 4 years, maybe, or he's going to try to do something else. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I didn't expect at the pace we were going. You were right that we had to get to the election. I thought that it would be a cliffhanger at the end of the season. I didn't expect to get the results by the end of this episode.
Well, because there's like 2 minutes left. Like the credits start rolling at the end, right? Like the directed by, written by, starring,
Yeah,
blah blah
yeah, yeah.
blah. And they're like, oh, and this is like, and it's just like does like, and it's Ohio, and it's Texas. I'm just like, oh, so we're gonna like get like election results. And I thought for a second that your idea was like that you had a couple weeks ago, a couple episodes ago, whatever, was all next season gonna be election too. And I'm like, I don't want to drag this out that far. But they're like, no, he loses. And she's like, oh, like it hurried up so much. So I was just like, it caught me
Yes,
off guard.
I agree that they summed up the end very, very fast. So, yep, agreed 1,000%.
But in these other episodes, what did you like about these? What did you not like about these? The 11th episode, I think, I thought you were going to like a lot because it's a lot of wrestling. It's his debut in the WWF.
I liked it a ton. The 11th episode was really cool. I think that was even like kind of more wrestling, right? Because it's like him kind of finishing up his like entrance into the WWF, right? It's that whole the last piece from like him working in Nashville to like getting the call up. And that was really cool because you got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin like they're watching the King of the Ring when Stone Cold is like Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass and they all like
Mm-hmm.
look at each other and go like that was awesome. Like they
Yeah.
all know at the same time like to see the wrestling people be like that was probably one of the coolest promos I've ever seen in my life. You know, like it's awesome and it talks about his relationship with Bruno and him like starting to introduce the rockisms, which I thought was really cool too, because it leads up that like Bruno has like had an ascension and come back, and this actor is another guy that we don't talk about enough. I think he's awesome in this show. Do you like Bruno in the show?
I think Bruno's good. I also like that they had the real life Bruno, that they showed like pictures of, I guess, the real life Bruno. And like they
Yes,
did a pretty good job of like recreating his look and his aesthetic and his feel in this actor.
I agree, and I think that was probably like an awesome dude too. You know what I mean? Like The Rock really likes him, but I think generally, I think he was probably an awesome dude and like a guy that like I would want to hang out with, because he just like loved wrestling and just like wanted to be in the business, and this is what he did. And he like didn't mind like his life wasn't going great as we see, but he's never like brought down by that because he's still doing what he loves, so he's excited about it. But The Rock is working on his like mic thing, so we got clips of like Ric Flair like doing cutting promos and stuff like that as like The Rock is like kind of like training himself to be good on the mic. And then at the end, the story is that like the guy that's like the booking agent is also a wrestler and is like picking on Bruno, and in the middle of a match that he's like really picking on Bruno and like calling him out and stuff and just being an asshole. The Rock takes the mic and cuts a wrestling promo against this guy, and he uses the like it doesn't matter what you say, like this type of stuff, and starts injecting some of the Rockisms in it, and I think it was really really cool. So I did like this one a lot. Did you like it?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, my favorite one, I think, like you said, like we both said before, the oldest Dewey is, I think, just he's just great, and I love seeing his like ascension into like
Yep.
not things I
Yep.
know about, but like we're getting closer to the Rock era that I know, and just
Yes.
man, he's got the charisma, he's got the charm. It's great.
We had restarted watching a bunch of the Attitude Era stuff, so we saw like some of the beginnings of the Attitude Era, like right when The Rock like finished being Rocky Maivia, became it, like he was like Rocky Maivia, but like he had joined the Nation of Domination. Like he'll do an ascension, right? Because like they're kind of alluding to it, I think, in the second episode that he was like supposed to be the new hero, but nobody liked him.
He does not have the attitude yet, right? And so like they're looking for something new, and he's got the look, he's got the thing, but he doesn't have what they want. And they even have Vince McMahon like, oh, we might have made a mistake. Like we don't know if this is good or not.
Yeah, because wrestling is like they're feeding you actors and stuff, but it's ultimately up to the crowd to decide like if they want somebody to succeed or not, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. So, yeah. So you will see like there is a whole period of like The Rock having to transition into The Rock, and he like joins a wrestling crew, which is the Nation of Domination, and he's slowly building to break out again and be The Rock. So, yeah, it's really cool, and it's a really cool weird part of wrestling because wrestling had just transitioned, like he says, to the Attitude Era, and that's where like there was a stoppage, and there's like a definite point that you can like point to and be like, this was it, because there was one night of like Raw or something that Vince McMahon like has like an actual video in Raw. Do you know this? Can I tell you this
No, I don't
story?
think so. Maybe
Okay,
not. I don't know.
like it's starting to come up. It kind of starts with Stone Cold at King of the Ring, but then like in between that, or right around that time, I forget if it's before or after, Vince McMahon releases like a video during Raw, and he's like, "Look, we're starting a new." It's like serious. It's not a promo. He's like, "We're starting a new era. Like, it's gonna be a little bit more aggressive. It's gonna be a little bit more edgy. It's probably not gonna be for kids." And he like announces this to everyone that like like we're turning a new leaf here. Bear with us. We're kind of like starting something different, and like it might not be what you expect. And like that was the beginning of the Attitude Era, because like he like definitively announced it on wrestling that like they were gonna take a turn, and like so that's where it begins. So the beginning of it's kind of weird, but it definitely just like hits a stride pretty quick that like it's gonna be Stone Cold, The Rock, Undertaker, Triple
Yeah.
H, all these guys. The like we know like that era begins like, and it just runs for years. So
It's pretty funny that they use the narrative like, I don't know, we might have made a mistake here. Like I don't know if he's going to be good or not though. Like cuz clearly it works out, right? Like that's the whole like broader picture here is that like The Rock
yes,
becomes a star, and like it becomes a star exactly the way like they haven't shown what you just said, but like that's what people know. Like I know that he becomes a wrestling icon, right? I don't
yes,
know the
yeah.
specifics, you know the specifics, but like nobody watching the show is like, "Oh no, is he going to make it?" It's like, "Yeah. If he didn't, there
There
wouldn't be
would
a
be the
show."
show. Yeah, exact. Very true. It's like it's the King Richard effect, right? That like when I was watching King Richard, I really liked the movie, and then like although like Will Smith is down, you're like, well, Venus and Serena Williams become the two greatest tennis players of all time. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, you're not. He doesn't lose. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see it play out, because I don't think that a lot of people know this like weird. It's cool that they're like Rocky Maivia with the goofy necklace, Polynesian costumes and shit
Mhm.
going on. Vince kind of being in doubt is interesting. I was glad that we actually got the Saudi Arabia story that like we were talking about last time.
Yeah, and it's more interesting than I thought it was going to be because he signs up to do this like independent league or whatever, and then Vince is like, the reason I didn't bring you to the WWF is because I want you to wrestle for the WWF over there. I'm trying to go overseas, and I want you to be the face of it. He's like, yeah, man, sure. And then like Vince goes over there and sees he's already
Yes.
being like advertised. He's just like, oh. So yeah, Rocky and Vince, like we see them reconcile
At
when
the end, when
Dwayne is coming up, right? But
yes, yes,
like it's cool. Like what I like about the character, and I think that this is probably also true of the man, is that Rocky Johnson is so good and pure, and like he only has the best intentions, but always can't get out of his own way. And like if he
yep.
was just more honest, or if he was just whatever.
It seems the way it's being portrayed in the show is that because of his upbringing and because of his struggles and because he's always like running the gimmick, that he can't get out of his own way, right? Like,
Right.
like the things that make him a great wrestler are the things that make him such a shit person.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and you can't kind of he can't kind of reconcile those two things. And if he would have just told Vince like, "Oh fuck, I fucked up," and like I
Yep.
already did this thing, or like bailed on that guy, or whatever, like he could have unfucked this, but he just doesn't. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. And like the only disappointment, and this isn't like a thing about the TV show, it's just like how it played out in real life, I would imagine, is that when Dwayne and Rocky like wrestle together for the first time, it just sort of tanks because the fans don't like Dwayne. They don't know Rocky, right? So like it should be this triumphant moment. Like I'm wrestling with my dad. Like when when Ken Griffey Jr. and his dad like played the outfield together and they hit back-to-back home runs, it was like this, oh my God, like this is an incredible moment. And then
yes,
here, it's just like it's a new kid. They don't really know him. They don't like him. They probably, like the casual wrestling fan, might not know because it's not like Rocky Johnson was like a mainstay in WWF, right? Like it's
yep.
just so. It's like who
Unless you have
cares,
your dad there with you telling you like, look, like
right?
that guy was great and this is, and it's not like the era of like streaming where like I can go back and watch all the beginning of
Yeah.
the Attitude Era stuff. Like
Yep.
if you didn't have like somebody that had videotapes of it in their basement, you would have
Like
no
you need to be
idea.
a diehard. You need to be someone who's there.
Yes.
Like when he's talking to when high school Dewey in like the one of the flashbacks is talking to the fabulous Moolah, like that old woman, like the
Yes.
the kind of
She
mean.
was
She's
great.
like,
Yep.
oh, I know your grandma. She's like, yeah, because he's like, I'm not afraid of you. I grew up with tougher women. And she's like, you Rocky's kid. So like she knows because like everybody in the business knows. But to the casual fan, just like I don't like this kid. I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, they brought in
Next,
this old guy. What the fuck is this? And it's like it's
right?
his dad, and you're like, okay, cool. Nobody, and like if you're watching wrestling, that could be his dad in quotation marks, just like Kane and the Undertaker were brothers too, right? So like you're like, oh, is this like another character that they're bringing in to be like his dad? And it's like, no, it's actually his dad, and you just missed out. Yeah,
Anything else to say about either of these two episodes?
I was a little disappointed in the finale. I can't put my finger on precisely why. It just didn't deliver what I wanted in terms of the overall story arc finale. But the individual episodes, like the episodes themselves, I thought were pretty good.
Well, I think that's the thing, and I think that's like I don't know if we've said it specifically. We probably have in some form or other, but like each individual episode, I think it ranges from like pretty good to great. But the overall season arc of either him running for president
Yep.
or him
Julian.
against Julian, it just doesn't matter. And like I think to a certain extent, they kind of tip that hand here because just like let's just rush through it, like just get over with it. Like and we keep referring to it as like a framing device, the through line, whatever. But like I don't even know if you need it. Like I get that like not having it means The Rock is not in your episodes, and I want The Rock in the episodes because I think him and Randall Park together are great. But like
Yeah,
either
they need some kind of device
spend
for
more
it.
time. Yeah, I don't know, man, because it's not working. I don't think like that's the only thing that's not working. But it's weird that it's not working because it should work really well.
Even worse, to continue on that, I think you're right. The Rock and Randall Park work really well, but like you can't just like have them sit down every episode and be like, let's have a fireside chat, you know? Like, so I get that you need something. The idea that he was running for president was a cool idea, but then at the end, I don't want more of it, but I feel like you do need more of that to just make it work.
Like it was interesting to me that there was so much time, not so much time, but much more time spent in present day in 2032 in the finale because it's like they're talking about they're kind of like wrapping up the season, looking at election results, learning life lessons, talking about that. They're flashing a little back to all three of the Deweys, right? So like
Yes, we get
it's
three
one of those
different
like how
Deweys. Yep.
the premieres and the finales and doing all that stuff. But like even in the modern day, I'm just like they're kind of just sitting around watching TV. Like it just, I want more, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
That's
But
what I'm saying. I can't give them like, sometimes we sit here and we're like, oh, like it would be better if they would do this. I have no solution for it. I don't know what a better option is. I just know that this one isn't
right,
the good option. So
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Before we get to the minute, big breaking news. Apple greenlit a live-action Speed Racer TV series that J.J.
What?
Abrams is going to produce.
What? That's pretty cool.
Speed Racer.
I'm back. I hope it's as weird and trippy as the
It's going to be hard to top that Wachowski version. Like there
yeah,
was
the
there's
Wachowski
the
one.
anime obviously, which I have not seen, but then the Wachowski's version, man, I don't know. I don't know.
Is there any casting news? It's just
I don't think
greenlit.
so.
Okay.
Apple TV Plus is prepping Speed Racer, a high-profile live-action series from J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot and Warner Brothers Television, where the company's under a deal. Details are sketchy, but I hear the project, written by Hiram Martinez from Snowpiercer, the TV show,
Okay.
and Ron Fitzgerald from Westworld, is going back to the original source material as a live-action take on the classic manga. I hear the series is now staffing a writer's room, and then they just talk about, so they're finding writers. They're not finding cast yet.
Who would you be your ultimate Speed Racer casting right now?
I don't know anything about the original manga. I have no idea. I know you're going to say Chalamet.
I mean, no, I was gonna say Chalamet or Arpads, but with it being an Apple TV Plus thing, which we've talked about before too, it's like Apple TV has been putting out not a ton of shows, but really good ones.
They're ramping up. I think the number is definitely increasing, but the quality is sticking, which is sort of surprising, which is very nice to see.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm excited to see how this goes, and I think that they'll do a pretty decent job, and J.J. Abrams too, that's pretty cool. I'm curious to see who they cast as Speed Racer, because I think that there'll be some fun, interesting options for it.
I wonder if there'll be an unknown. Maybe it'll be an unknown. Maybe it'll be a
Maybe,
unknown
yeah.
quantity. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea, so...
All right, Joe, the final thing to do before we take a break is the Fast and the Furious Minute, the Too Fast, Too Furious Minute. Minute 63, a minute I called Rat Scratch Fever.
Ow, ow, ow.
It's biting me!
What? Got something you want to say?
Baby! I'll do it!
Do what? Say it.
Give me the window. Just get it off me. Get it off!
You betray me. And my rat here is gonna visit your wife, Lynn. Yeah. Your son, Clay, and your daughter, Lexi. Do you hear me? You understand me? Huh?
You hear me? I'll burn you!
All right, Dad, I'll burn him out. Good. Now, you can go. Get rid of him. Let's go.
In this minute, Carter continues to heat the bucket, covering the rat as Whitworth continues to squirm. Eventually, Whitworth gives in, saying he'll give Carter his window of time he asked for. Carter threatens Whitworth, demanding obedience, and saying if he doesn't get his window, Carter's rat will go torture Whitworth's family. Carter lets Whitworth go, and Enrique and Roberto manhandle him out of the room as the minute ends. So I was looking back, because it feels like we've been here forever.
Yes.
And the seductress brought the detective to the room in minute 60. So it's been like 3.5 minutes of Whitworth here, but it's just, I mean, that's a month in our time, right? That's 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So it does feel like a while, but it hasn't been crazy. It's just been nothing going on for a month.
Interesting you bring that up, because I rewatched a bunch of the previous minutes too, because I told you this was like the apps. Like I've said it before, this was the worst minute for me I've ever done. There's literally nothing. There's nothing on the walls. There's nothing new. They don't show me any part of the torch, the bucket, the anything.
Nope.
Anything. There's nothing. It's just faces cut very quickly, no distinctive like signs, anything. But I noticed something very, very interesting.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, I'm pausing a bunch, going back and forth. As I pause at one point, there is a guy behind Brian and Roman.
A guy behind Brian and Roman.
Have you noticed this before?
I don't think that I have, because I heard what you said, and it took me a minute to process it. No, I don't know who this is.
How many people are in the room right now?
We have Carter and Monica, Roberto
Correct.
and Enrique,
Correct.
Brian and Roman,
Correct.
Whitworth. So
Yes.
7, plus this mystery guy, apparently.
There's 2 extra guys in this room that we never caught before.
Really?
Yes. And I went back and watched previous minutes to determine it. And you know how I know, and how you'll understand.
Have they been in previous minutes, or is this the first time they showed up?
No, they've been in previous minutes. They were not walking with them into this room. They were not shown in this room when we circled the room and Carter's like opening the champagne. Okay?
Oh, I see somebody standing with crossed arms behind Roman now. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's different clothes than Enrique and Roberto.
Well, they're also like, they're on his arms, right? So, like, yes.
Yes, and we know that they're holding his arms down. Monica's holding his mouth down. There is a guy that comes in when they first put him on the table that holds his feet down, which makes sense.
Okay,
right?
okay.
That we had not seen before and exists to hold his feet down. And there's another guy that's behind Brian and Roman that I had never seen before.
And do you know where that guy came from, or no?
Nope, and you don't see his face either. At least not yet. I didn't go to further minutes, but we'd never see his face. It's only shot from the neck down. So you see like a suit that's different than Enrique and Roberto's. He's behind.
Oh, yeah, because when they manhandle him out, there's a third guy who grabs his, like, he helps them get him out. That's so weird, man.
So there's 2 extra guys in this room that we had never seen before, aren't really addressed, and aren't shown in the room. It's very,
and
very
what's weird
strange.
is, like, the aerial shots of Whitworth on the table, you can see the crossed arm guy behind Roman, still, like, his head is kind of chopped off, but the guy at his feet is not there at all. So I don't know.
The guy that's feet is not there, and when they show him from the side, like the bucket on the side, they don't show behind Brian and Roman, so they cut the guy out there too.
That's so weird. Like, I guess it's just showing he has extra muscle in the room, but, like, that's supremely weird.
Yes. I think more likely it was like there was 2 other guys and they kind of got trimmed in the movie.
Probably. It's just, yeah, extra muscle, just other guys, like, hey, you do this, and, like, we don't need to see that. Yeah, I think you're right.
Which makes sense, but it now feels weird to see somebody standing behind Brian and Roman without a face.
Because when you're looking for it, it's just like he's all over the place. Like, he's in
Yes.
every shot. It's just that we never...
But you didn't, and you don't think about it too, because he also has like kind of like a similar suit to them.
Yep.
It's like, you know, Miami
Ill-fitting
gangster,
pastel, light-colored suit. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, Miami Hispanic gangster type colored suit type situation. You're like, okay, cool, I get it. There's 2 extra guys in the room that we had never seen before.
That's so weird.
Right? So, okay,
Okay.
so that was my notice of this minute. Something that usually I wouldn't have caught, but just being so devoid of anything to see, and then I had to go back in the other minutes, and they are there at other points. You just don't see
Well,
them.
so what's weird, and I think so. This is really weird. I'm going back to minute 61 now, where you see the guy in the orange and black shirt, the plaid shirt or whatever,
Hold his
grab
legs.
his feet, right?
Yep.
There's another guy with black sleeves behind him. Unless
Oh,
that's
is there?
Carter. That might be Carter. No, I think that's Carter. I don't think.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because he walks from behind, but I was just like, is there another guy? But yeah, it's so weird.
Right? That's pretty mind-blowing now that we watch. Because like, we're watching this minute by minute, and like we missed that there was guys in the past
I'm
4
working
minutes.
while this is, I'm working on like taking notes and filling things in, but I'm still like watching it multiple times, like, with
Pausing.
full attention. I don't know, man.
Like I'm pausing, looking. I look in the backgrounds, right? So like I'm constantly looking in the backgrounds. We've watched this movie 11 times. We watched the minute. We're 4 minutes into this, and I only caught it now.
I know based on the thumbnails for these minutes that in 2 minutes we will be at the poker game where MC Jin is freestyling.
Okay.
But the next minute thumbnail is Carter and Monica in this room. So we're going to transition probably in the next minute from here to there, or maybe the minute after. So we have a little bit more time in this room. So we'll have to see if these dudes, if we see faces. Because like we kind of see a face, but like as I've said before, the IMDb for this movie is not great in terms of the extras. I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah.
They're not listed. Even people who like whatever, they're just there should be more, and there's not.
There's so many cuts and stuff that this is happening in fractions of a second. So like seeing that guy's face, like, do you really see that guy's face in real time in the movie that grabs his legs? No.
I don't know. Super,
Because you like
super,
have to like
super
pause
strange.
it to see him like it makes sense. But we had been talking about them holding his arms, like there should be somebody holding his legs, but like it just never clicked. Yeah.
Yeah. Carter almost gets the fuck in this minute as he says, "I'll burn your eyes out." But he like doesn't say it. He doesn't even mouth it. He just like, but it seems like they wanted to drop it in there and didn't.
Yeah, he kind of like grunts it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And after a couple minutes of complaining that like no one, like Brian and Roman are just sitting there, Carter after this is all said and done, could not be happier with himself. Monica looks like Ava Mendes is acting here. She's like visibly shaken.
Yeah.
She's doing great, but Brian and Roman are just like, all right, that's weird. That's not cool. But just like
and it's
sitting
weird.
there.
It's weird that Roman is still like loungy sitting, right? Like kind of like laid back, like knees up type situation. Like
I will give Tyrese credit that while they're doing things, he's squirming a little bit more. Paul Walker's just sitting there. And I understand that, like, this probably took hours to shoot because there's all sorts of different angles. They're redoing it, whatever. And, like, you, but still, do something.
You're right. Ava Mendes is the star of this whole scene because she's the only one that's selling, for sure. The rest of them are, like, selling whenever they feel like it.
She learned from the best. She learned from Flex Kavana, which is a name we did not say before, which is The Rock's first wrestling name, right? Flex Kavana, because you have to flex, and it sounds like a badass Polynesian name.
That was so dumb. But I want some Flex Kavana autographs. I wonder if there was, like... I don't think that there was any merch. Like, you can't get, like, a Flex Kavana shirt, but I think that there is definitely
I'm sure you probably could now. I mean, you know, like, I'm sure that somebody has
like on
probably...
Cafe Press, T Public type situation, yes. I'm sure, like, after last night's episode. But I'm saying, like, classic Flex Kavana shirt does not exist.
Because it seems like he's Flex Kavana for, like, a minute, and then he's just like, well, now I'm rocking my Via, right? Because it's just like, okay, cool.
He said, what was he? He was only in Nashville for, like, 4 or 5 months, so, like... That's not a ton of time, right?
Yeah, we see one fight. He probably did like maybe a dozen. I don't know.
No. He says he was working 7 nights, so like 8 shows a week.
Okay, so he's doing a bunch. He's just okay.
But it was only over 4 months. Like that's still not a ton if you're only in Nashville, right? Like it's
for sure. Anything else about this minute before we get to the trivia question, or no?
No. I shared my interesting new thought, and I'm glad that you found it as interesting as I did.
It's wild. That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So I have a good trivia question that I really like. I need you to come up with the wrong answer because there's a little bit of a detail in this minute that I have never heard before in the 12 times I've seen this movie or whatever.
I agree. I was right with you. Go ahead.
Which of these is not a member of Detective Whitworth's family? Because Carter has the very funny line about like, you betray me, my rat here is going to visit your wife. It's just like, the rat's not. Like, I know you're using the rat as a metaphor. Like, you're going to go, right? But still... It's just like, you know, the rat's going to put on a little driver's cap and just drive over the house and be like, hello, I'm here to torture you.
I was thinking the other way around, like how much do you like this rat and bucket, like, dealio to want to, like, take it on a road show?
I was wondering if it's just like, hey, we're going to torture you, or like, we're going to torture them in the same way because I just love this so much.
That's what I was thinking, too. I'm like, man, like, you're really into this rat and buckets. Like, this is one of those things, it's like... It's a gimmick that you're like, do you always have a rat in your pocket? Like, why are you having this rat that you just carry around with you? Is it like a pet? Like, what the fuck?
Don't know, man.
And then he's like, yeah, I'm taking the rat over, and I'm going to do the same thing to your wife, the same thing to your kids. Rat in the bucket. He's going to eat through all of them. And it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Cool. So, wife Lynn, son Clay, and daughter Lexi. So those are the right answers, or I guess the wrong answers, but they're the actual names. So give us a name that sort of sounds maybe similar to those, and their 4-letter name possibly. The correct answer to the question, but a wrong member, someone not in Whitworth's family.
Ooh,
Clay, Lexi, Lynn. Maybe another C, because we have 2 C's and 2 L's.
Not Kara, because that's Kara, and we know Kara. Something along those lines.
Colt? Like Colt Cabana or Cliff? That's 5 letters. Or
Clint?
Clint? Okay. Clay, Clint, Lexi, Lynn. Jesus, this is going to be brutal, man.
I think Clint is a good one, right?
Yeah. I think it's a fair question. I also think it's an impossibly difficult question.
No, this is one of these that's just like, oh, fuck me. There's no way you remember Wentworth's family's name that Carter mentions once.
No.
It's context clues. You got to use context clues here, guys. I'm going to get it wrong, but it was 2 women, 1 man.
That's not going to help anybody. You're not going to remember that. How are you going to remember this?
How am I going to remember this? Clint Eastwood, Scott Eastwood, not the right answer. That's what I'm going to remember.
Okay. Well, let's take a break. Let's come back and let's talk about Muppets Most Wanted.
This is episode number 240, Muppets Most Wanted. This episode is brought to you by Fairy Tale Mysteries, the Puppet Thief. Once upon a time, there was a man who went from town to town with songs and poetry, capturing the souls of children. Play that on Steam. Shout out to the Puppet Thief.
I don't like that description. That sounds way creepier than it did the first time. And I don't know if you said the same thing. I don't know if it just hit my ear different, but capturing the souls of children sounds not great.
Yeah, from generation to generation, the tale was told. I don't know. I don't write this. They just give it to us. That's what I was told to say. Sorry.
Well, shout out to the creepy puppet man. And welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. Michael McGahn, thank you again for supporting us and for picking Muppets Most Wanted. Joe, I had such a weird experience watching this movie because
Okay.
I told you before, I've never really seen a Muppet, like a full Muppets movie, but it must have just been the marketing because maybe I've walked in rooms of people watching this, but like I feel like a lot of this movie I have seen.
Oh, weird. I have definitely seen none of this movie up until this.
Well, you've seen a bunch of other Muppet stuff. This one was new to you.
Yes, this one was completely new. I want to hear your take on it first before I say what I say. Go ahead. How did you feel about this? If this is so, you never had seen any of the old Muppet stuff, which we talked about.
I
right?
saw Muppet Babies, and I probably grew up with some Muppets, but like I've never really Muppets were never a main thing in my life. And so I'm sure that I know that there are a bunch of Muppet things.
Yes.
I have not really seen them.
Yeah.
I feel like this came out in 2014.
Yep.
And I was back when I was seeing I still see a lot of movies in theaters, but like I was seeing a ton of movies in theaters then. And I feel like I just saw the trailer for this a lot, and just I think it was probably on ABC and whatever. And so I feel like maybe just pictures, maybe it's like clips. When we watch the trailer, I'll know from that.
The evil Kermit meme?
Well, the evil Kermit meme for sure, but I feel like the Tina Fey stuff, I knew that Josh Groban was at the end, I knew that the Usher was the Usher, and so I think a lot of the thing with the Muppets movies is who the guest stars kind of are to a certain extent, and I knew a lot of that, and I knew scenes and whatever, and so I don't think I've seen this movie, but I have seen parts of this movie, but I liked it. I was hanging out with friends last night who have a 2-year-old, and we were watching some Bluey. Do you know Bluey?
No, I have no idea what this is.
So Bluey is an Australian cartoon about a family of dogs, and they're 5 or 7 minute long episodes on Disney Plus. And Bluey is great kids programming. That kids love it, but also it's for adults who have to watch the same thing over and over and over again, it doesn't drive them as crazy as a lot of other things. That's not to say that it's flawless in that regard, and especially when they're 5-minute episodes, you see the same thing 100 times. But Bluey's pretty good. And so I feel like Muppets Most Wanted and most of the Muppets things is if I had a kid, this is something that I would not mind watching with them more than once because it's fun, it's pretty breezy. Again, not exactly made for me, but I enjoyed it.
Good. I'm really glad you said that. So as I was going to watch this today, Rachel was going to go get us some lunch, and she's like, I'm like, oh, do you want, I put it on, I'm like, do you care if I, watch it? She's like, you can watch this, and I'll, go do the lunch things. And I put it on, I see her watching it, and she's, enjoying, the opening number, because it's a musical, right?
Is this her first musical for this podcast? I know we've covered other musicals for other places, like your favorite movie, La La Land.
Exactly.
But I don't know that we've done another musical.
I don't know either, and as you guys know, I'm a notorious musical hater, but I see her watching it, and I see her, giggling and stuff. I'm like, I'm going to wait until you get back, and we can watch this together. And she's like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care if you do watch it without me, but sure. And I'm trying to figure out, why, this feels, weird, her reception to that. And, as we're watching it, she's, giggling, she's watching, because she comes back, I wait for her, we're watching through it, and I'm like, have you also never seen any of the rest of the Muppets movies? And she's like, no, none of them. And I was like, oh, they're totally up your alley. I think you'd really like them, because I was greatly enjoying this. As somebody who doesn't like musicals, I think all the musical numbers in the Muppets movies are really, really funny. I wish every musical kind of had the tongue-in-cheek awareness of a Muppets movie.
Yeah, it is very meta. So this one picks up where the original The Muppets from 2011 which was written by Jason Segel, who did not write this. This was written and directed by James Bobin, who was the guy who directed the first movie. But this one picks up right where the first one ends, and like it's like a meta, just like, oh, I hope there's a sequel, but like the sequel's never very good. And like I think like it's very funny to be that on the nose about like what's going on.
Yeah, and they're like, it's not really a sequel. We've done 8 of these things, blah, blah, blah. Yes.
Because going back, there's the original The Muppet movie from 79. There's Muppets from Space. There's The Great Muppet Caper. There's Muppet Treasure Island. There's all sorts of movies. There's also the
Take
TV
Manhattan.
shows. Yes, all of those.
That was one of my favorite.
I also do want to say we did one other musical for this podcast, and I wouldn't necessarily consider it a musical, but it's definitely a musical, The Blues Brothers.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a musical, although we don't, not like a musical in quotes.
Yeah, not like a song and dance number, but also a song and dance number, right? So.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so Muppets Most Wanted, if you have not seen these, like you said before, the Kermit meme, there's evil Kermit, like I'm you, but, you know, whatever, but... Yeah, I was just like, oh, right, okay, cool, yeah. And I also felt like, I guarantee you I've seen this trailer like 50 times, and I haven't watched it again, we'll watch it at the end, but like, the whole like putting the fake mole on Kermit when Constantine covering up his mole, and just that whole like send to the Gulag, like all of that felt so familiar. Like I've seen that a bunch, and that must be in the trailer, because like that's what this movie's about, right? That like Ricky Gervais and Constantine, the evil guy who looks like Kermit, team up to take down this big heist, and they're using the Muppets. Yes, they're using the Muppets to like get to where they need to go around Europe for the next clues and whatever. And Kermit has to break out and get back to his friends, his family, and all that sort of stuff, right? So that's basically, they find themselves wrapped into a European jewel heist caper headed by Kermit the Frog lookalike and his dastardly sidekick, Ricky Gervais, playing Dominic Bad Guy. So Dominic, very on brand.
I mean, those kind of jokes are so good to me. Like, I really like these corny things. For me, as someone who did grow up watching, like, the original Muppets movie and Muppets Take Manhattan, like, The Great Muppet Caper, like, I watched those a ton. I haven't seen them since I was, you know, single-digit age. Mm-hmm. But, like, I remember watching them so many times and, like, just loving everything about them. So, like, it definitely hit a lot of nostalgia for me. I'm glad that it seems like you and Rachel both enjoyed this without the nostalgia factor, because they all kind of exist like this. This is a great... I haven't watched any of the new ones either, but now I
think people really liked the one before this. I think, like, Jason Segel was raised on the Muppets, and I think people really like that original one.
I know. So my plans are, after we finish recording, is to, like, at least watch the very first Muppets movie with Rachel to, like, start going through these.
The first one, like the prequel to this, or like the original?
No, like the original, like the ones that I remember from a kid.
Gotcha, because
like,
I think they're all on Disney Plus.
I think so too, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like if there's 8 of these, this will be a fun thing to just watch through, because they're so gentle, right? Like, they're fun, they're uplifting, they're silly, like the jokes are good, it's clean, like, I don't know, you can't get much better than it, in my opinion, for, like, kids programming. I want to know, like, what the reception is of, like, children today. I think that they would still like it, but, like, with, like, you know, so much, like, CGI and like, all this, like, rapid YouTube 7-minute things of Bluey, you know, like you're saying, like, I don't know how kids would respond to this, but I think that it's pretty timeless. So, like, I can imagine that children would still like it.
And I think the fun for, even if you're not a huge Muppets fan, just, I'm going to blow through this list really quickly. I'm just going to sort of read them. But like,
please,
in this movie, in actual true cameos or as themselves or whatever, Ricky Gervais, Ty Burrell, Tina Fey, Tom Hiddleston, Salma Hayek, Ray Liotta, Danny Trejo, Stanley Tucci, Jermaine Clement, Zach Galifianakis, Frank Langella, James McAvoy, Chloe Grace Moretz, Saoirse Ronan, Christoph Waltz, Hugh Bonneville, Lady Gaga, Rob Corddry, Sean Combs, Josh Groban, Usher. Who else? Is there other people here? Celine Dion, Peter Serafinowicz. All in this movie for, you know, a shot or a scene or throughout the entire movie.
This has to be one of these, like, I know we've talked about before that it's, like, not risky to do, like, voice work, right? Like, when we were talking about, like, animation and stuff, we were like, oh, like, if you get, like, the voice of, like, someone famous, like, either people don't recognize you or don't judge you for it, whatever, right? Like we were talking about Zeph.
It's a lot.
And,
Like I just did it for my kids. Like they love the Muppets, and they always want to be in a Muppets movie, and like here I am, right? So
yeah, but this, like, even on top of that, like, you get Usher being the Usher, so it's like a fun joke.
Yep.
Like, you can't be nobody's getting like shit on in the Muppets either. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like, it's definitely along the same lines, and you could show up, play yourself. You do maybe a day's worth of work, a half a day's worth of work, and like you get to be in a Muppets movie. It's really
Yep.
cool.
The one thing I do want to point out, just like it's a weird timing to watch this movie, and it's nothing like this. I'm sure it's not why Michael McGahon picked this. If it is, what a dastardly bad guy. But like Ricky Gervais making headlines for the wrong reason this week because he
Yes.
just had a new special on Netflix, which
Yep.
is very transphobic, and so like all these
Yep.
groups are coming out, and like Netflix just can't stop getting in its own way again with like comedy specials like between Chappelle and Ricky Gervais, and like I haven't seen this one. I haven't really been
I
a fan
haven't.
of Gervais, but I think that for the
Same.
most part. He's pretty innocuous here. Like he's playing the part, he's playing the heel. You're not rooting for him, you're rooting against him. But he's not annoying here. Like he's letting the Muppets be the star, which is what he should be doing.
I agree, and you know, you had messaged me last night saying that Ricky Gervais is in this, and how it's kind of, you know, an
It's like
awkward
it's just
time
it's a
to-
bummer that's like the week that it's all happening. Like it's just like
Yes.
this is bad timing.
It's definitely bad timing, but, and Rachel said the same thing, but like you said, he's definitely not the star of this
Right.
movie. Like, the Muppets are the stars of this movie. He is the bad guy. They use him decently, and as someone who also is not like a huge Ricky Gervais fan, because I think that he's been kind of a dick online forever.
Yep.
And that's just like his like shtick, and it's weird, but whatever. Yeah, didn't bother me in this at all. Like, he got like one musical number, and then like he's just like a side character, so
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal. In my opinion, in like the framing of him being in a Muppets movie and us covering it right now.
And like the fact that like Ty Burrell and Tina Fey are both here, and they're both so good, and they're just fun, and they're good to root for, and just
Danny
like that's-
Trejo
Danny
again.
Trejo as Danny Trejo. His character's name is Danny Trejo.
Yes, awesome, great.
So it's just fun. I think it's probably just a function of the time that like I was like I think it's hard to take notes on a movie like this because I'm just like I don't know, but
Same.
like there were a lot of fast connections, like more than I thought. Other than just like the through line of family, I think part of that is just like the fact that it was made in 2014, more recent than I would have thought. But also just like of movies of the time, but like it kind of feels a little bit like Furious 7, a little bit like Fate of the Furious, a little bit
Yep.
like Hobbs
Yep.
and Shaw's. You know, it's all that stuff. But like the fact that they go to the Gulag in Siberia and like that was in Fate, and then there's also like the Prison Break, which is like Hobbs and Shaw and Fate, and just like, oh, this is just like what movies were like in the mid 2010s.
The Muppets have always been kind of like a satire of other
Mm-hmm.
things that they're just like piecing together. So they're making a globe-trotting action movie, heist movie situation. So yeah, it fit perfectly. It definitely felt very Fast and the Furious. They're like, cut to different places. We have to break into the thing to steal the parts.
Yep.
We need the different halves to come together to make the thing. You know, very Tesseract and not like Nine situation. Yeah, all these things. I agree.
So as I'm watching The Simpsons, I'm getting to things where I'm like, this is just like a Futurama episode, which is super weird because like they're both Matt Groening shows, and I feel like by the point I am right now in The Simpsons, he was probably much more involved, especially because like I think if my timeline is right, like it's the first season of Futurama, so I'm sure he's way more invested there. And he's like, The Simpsons by now in season 11 is a well-oiled machine. I'm gonna let them do it or whatever. And so I'm like, this just feels like a Futurama episode. But I'm like, not really. Like it's not like that's. I think on the one hand, like understandable, but it's also like they're both just making fun of the same whatever thing that has been done 100 times elsewhere, right? So it's like one of those kind of things where it's like the Muppets is making fun of things, and the Fast and Furious is like embodying these kind of things. But it's just like these have been done in movies for like decades or whatever, right? Or like at least for years, it's all over. So it's coincidental here, but I think like we were talking about with the Rita Moreno casting, it's just like there's enough just stuff out in the world that's like, yeah, of course, like it's just like Russia's been the villain for like 20 years or 30 years, right? So just like it makes sense that they go to that, like nobody wants to go to Siberia. So, you know.
Exactly.
There also is like to that point, like jurisdiction battles when, you know, Ty Burrell and that one Muppet are like fighting over like who gets to like be in charge of this case. This is FBI case. No, this is LAPD case. This is whatever, right? So like it's the same kind of like dick measuring contest. It's just that it's funny here because it's Ty Burrell and a Muppet as opposed to like Bilkins and Tanner or whoever, right? So
I think that as an adult, and if I was a parent, I definitely would enjoy this because you get fun stuff like that they're alluding to tons of movies that we have seen.
Yep.
and the jokes are for parents too, right? Like, even if you're not like, oh, that's like overtly funny and I laughed, you're like, okay, that's a nice little homage to, dick measuring police.
Yep.
Two cops on the opposite sides have to work together. You're like, okay, yeah, I've seen this movie 100 times.
Yep. I think like the thing that really like wowed me in terms of the fast connections here is when Kermit goes to prison and Tina Fey is just like, they abandoned you. Like, your friends gave up on you. He's like, they couldn't. We're family.
Yep.
And then she's like, well, nobody believes in family here in the Gulag. It's like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. But it's just like he uses the word family, and like it makes sense because there's also found family or whatever. But I'm just like, this is so. I don't know why Michael picked this, but I'm assuming it's like he just likes the Muppets. He likes this movie. It's a heist movie. Maybe it's a family thing, but like it all comes together in a way where it's just like, oh yeah, this is more Fast and Furious than they ever could have imagined.
As I'm watching it, I'm thinking, we talk a lot about fate and Dom versus the family, and how many times have we said like, oh, they might as well have just made evil Dom and just had him fight evil Dom, and that's essentially the premise of this movie. Like, it is like if you just replace like Kermit and Constantine with Dom and evil Dom, this could have been a Fast and the Furious movie.
For sure, absolutely.
Like, as dumb as that sounds, it really could have been a Fast and the Furious movie. Like, you just, like, CGI over a bunch of characters with characters from the Fast and Furious. You're like, pretty much the same thing. Like, just less cars.
So I think we just did in the bonus episode for Thief, there's only really one nominee for who we're going to have on the team. And I feel like that's the same case here. But did you have someone in mind who you would nominate for the heist team from this movie?
Oh, I actually...
Or you don't even think about it because it was like such a weird out there kind of thing.
I didn't even think about it, but, like, it's obviously Constantine,
It's Constantine, right? Because, like, number one,
yes,
everyone loves Kermit, and just, like, having a fake Kermit there is like, oh my god, it's Kermit. Like, well, just distraction. And also, he's such a quick learner when it comes to mimicking voices.
Yeah, he's real good at it.
So it just makes sense. I think it has to be Constantine. Because, like, again, just like in Thief, it's like there's two people, and, like, we're not going to have Ricky Gervais. Like, he's, like, a bumbling buffoon, like, by design in this movie, right? So, like, it's either him or Constantine, because they're the only ones in on the heist. And so
he's number 2.
I will say, so we have 7 votes in. The last week's Fast 5 episode with Grant locked in. In third place with 1 of the 7 votes was Mia, nominated by you. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
In second place with 2 votes, including himself, Tej, nominated by Grant, because I was up, so I won. I had 4 votes of the 7, Leo and Santos. But at one point I had 4 there were 4 votes, and they were all for mine. I'm like, that's weird. Like, I didn't think it was that great of a pick. And then it was like 5 votes, and 1 was for Tej. And I'm like, I wonder. And I collected, and Grant had voted for himself. So like,
nice.
That's his right. He's given us $1. He's allowed to vote for himself. But Leo and Santos, officially the patron pick. Thank you. Another victory.
It was a good choice. I definitely wasn't upset about that one. That's good.
But we're confirmed that, like, it's just Constantine.
Yeah, I'm sorry we're on a run here that seems like... I mean, because Kermit wouldn't do anything bad, right? Like, he's just trying to break out of prison, so it's like, Kermit's a good... Like, I guess he'd be a good morale guy for the team if you had Kermit, but, like, having evil fake Kermit that all we need is a little bit of green makeup and people will think it's Kermit the Frog is, like, top tier.
Right, because we could do a different lap at some point, which we probably will do, and I think I have on the master spreadsheet of, like, Prison Break movies, and, like, if in that case, then we could have any number of people from this movie. I feel like this is a wider pool for Prison Break nominees than for heist nominees, but there's still, there's a good option here. I think Constantine is good, but yeah, Kermit would be good for morale, but Kermit would be a terrible heist team member.
I agree. And Constantine, if we need a chameleon, we could always use a frog.
He just takes like 30 seconds to learn a new voice, and he got it right. It's just like, yeah, Kermit the Frog, and I think that's also from the trailer. I've seen that a lot, so
I like. Oh man, all of the accent things that they don't pick up on are so funny to me. Like when he's like, "Thank you, pig," and like, and they're like, "Oh, Kermit." He calls, what does he call, Gonzo Zongo or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I loved all of those things. And then even like Kermit's like, you guys spent like 2 months with this guy and didn't notice it wasn't me. And they're like, whoa. Like Fonzie's like, it's not that bad.
He looks like you. He sounds like you. Well, he doesn't really sound like you. He sounded kind of like you. And Adam was like, I knew.
Yeah, exactly.
I love in prison, and this is I'm going to spoil the letterboxed review later that I found for the game, but
Oh, okay.
Danny Trejo as the triple threat singer, dancer, murderer, I think is pretty funny.
I agree. And the idea that they were doing, like Rachel had to explain it to me because I'm not a big musical person, but the idea that they're doing Chorus Line, which is a musical about auditions for musicals, as their audition for the musical of the Gulag prison, incredible.
It's pretty good.
Super hilarious to me.
Also really good was Tom Hiddleston, Loki as the Great Escapo, and they're like, well, we can't, because Kermit's like, I have an idea how to get out, and we cut to the Great Escapo.
Yeah.
And then Tina Fey like shuts that down real quick, and then they actually get out the way that they get out. But it's again, it's the meta jokes, it's the funny things. It's just very smart. It's done well in a way that it's fun to watch, and like it's like, oh, like these people are funny people writing a smart movie.
It's good because we grew up on some like really dumb kids entertainment.
Sure. Yeah.
Like some really bad dumb kids entertainment that I still love, but like just all the stuff like Rocco's Modern Life and stuff like that. Like there was like some jokes in there, but like a lot of it was just dumb.
Well, I feel like Rocco's Modern Life was more like that one specifically. I remember watching a couple episodes of like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I felt like there's a lot more commentary on like corporate culture, like all the people,
There
like
is,
all
yes.
the boardroom people, like picking their nose, like which is very dumb, but it's also like there's more to the joke there than like a kid is just like, oh, they're picking their nose, that's pretty funny, but it's like, well, that's what my boss does too, or whatever, right? Like a parent watching, like I hate my boss, I'm sure that they're just picking their nose or whatever. So yeah,
As much as you got some of that, this is consistently smarter
Sure.
and a lot less dumb than like that and like Ren and Stimpy and stuff like that, like cartoons that were just like overtly like weird and dumb at points. So yeah, I agree.
I think that like, your kids are going to like whatever they're going to like, but I think all you can really hope for is that they like a thing that's smart, that's not so painful for you to watch. Because like whenever a kid likes something, they're going to want to watch it over and over again. And like this, again, it's just better to watch than like Baby Shark or whatever, right? Just like, please just put me out of my misery.
Are there any children that like aren't like, you know what, I want to watch this movie 100 times?
Maybe, probably.
Because I feel like I definitely did this. My sister, it sounds like you did this. Like you find like a couple things that you're like, this is great. I hear all the time that like, all about these like kids that are like sucked into Baby Shark or frozen on loop and all
Yep.
this bullshit. And you're like, is it just like a natural thing that we all do and why? It's weird.
I don't know. Like, I think it's just like you find
Comfort.
a thing. Because I think it's interesting to think about like when you're a kid and you watch a thing and you don't know that like things are bad. You just assume that all movies are good, and you like eventually you watch a movie like, oh, that wasn't good. Like I don't know why I thought movies were good. Like all the movies that I've seen I loved, right? Or like
Yeah.
because you've
Yeah.
seen fewer things, like there's less bad stuff or whatever. And like even if a thing's not bad, like if it's your first movie, or even if a thing is bad, if it's your first movie, like this is amazing, this is magical or whatever, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
like I know that when I was little, and this is why when I was a guest on Wistful Thinking for their first episode, like we did Casper, because like I don't know what it was about Casper that I love, but like I remember we rented Casper, had to be 30 or 40 times. I don't know why we didn't buy the VHS, but every time we went to the movie store, all I wanted to watch was Casper, and so we rented Casper, and like it was that and the first Home Alone, I think maybe both Home Alones, and like Richie Rich, and like that was basically it. Like those are like the movies that I watched over and over and over again. And I don't know why, like they're fun, they're good, but like I don't know what it was about those that like captured my brain. But it wasn't like I was watching 100 different movies. It was like really kind of those four.
And again, no offense, but those aren't like the greatest movies, right? Like,
Probably not.
I mean, they're fun and cool, but like to pick those to like be the ones to watch over and over again, it's not like this was like even like high cinema for like animation or something, Like this is like
Yeah.
just movies. They're just like movies of the time that were like mildly popular, like not even that exciting. So
Couldn't figure it out.
nope.
I like that Constantine eventually wins over Miss Piggy, even though she's kind of skeptical about it all, but by making her even more family, by proposing to her, he's like, I know the way to her heart, like, let's make her family. But then, that family move isolates the rest of the family, because she's like, all right, and I got what I want now, so, like, you're all on your own, like, you wanted to be on your own anyway. They're like, not really, like, we were a family, and so, that one move makes people more and less family, and, like, that's kind of like almost like the pivot point where they're like, this isn't Kermit.
Yes, and that's how she ultimately finds out that it's not Kermit, because she like tests them. She's like, "Should we get married?" And like, real Kermit's wishy-washy, and Constantine's like, "Yes, immediately, let's do it."
Yep. It's pretty good. Pretty
Yeah.
good. It's also amazing to me that in the, after Constantine is found out at the wedding, he turns on his bomb, whatever, and
Yes.
the bomb is in her wedding ring. And I'm just like, this is just like the tracker being in the
Yep.
necklace.
Yep.
And it's just like a piece of jewelry that doubles, especially like a silver and red piece of jewelry. I mean, the necklace is mostly silver, but like a silver and red piece of jewelry that doubles as like a high piece of a piece of high technology. Just like, this is so, again, not new. Like, it wasn't the Fast and Furious the first time, but like, it's weird. It's a weird coincidence.
It's very, very weird coincidence. There was a lot of these, even just like, them getting married and everybody else being like, well, what do we do now situation.
There's another moment in that wedding scene or in the church scene that Frank Langella says a line. He's the priest marrying them.
Yep.
And he says a line that I feel like we've talked about, we've danced about in the movies we've watched, and it feels like every character off screen is probably saying, where he goes, like, they crash through a window or whatever. He goes, it's only 800 years of history. Like, just like, as they're dragging a stake through the streets of Rio, just like, that was just another city block. That's just another $2 billion in damage. Like, all right, whatever. I guess not a big deal.
Suck a car through a building in
Yep.
in F9, and you're like, yeah, that's fine. Destroy a whole housing development. You're like, oh, yeah.
So I think just now, as we're recording this episode, Reaction Rocket replied to our tweet, because I do the preview tweet like, hey, next week on Too Fast, Too Forever. And he
Yes.
said, which Muppet is which Fast character? I mean, Kermit is obviously Dom, but who else?
Ooh.
This is going to be you, because I don't really know the Muppets. Like, I know the Muppets, but I don't know the Muppets well enough. So if Kermit is Dom, does that make... I feel like Letty as Miss Piggy does not track.
No, because Miss Piggy's badass. So there's like usually a thing. I was convinced that Miss Piggy would beat up Tina Fey because I feel like from nostalgia memory that like Kermit usually gets hit on by a woman and Miss Piggy's like, that's my man, and like slaps the shit out of the woman.
Okay.
Fonzie's Brian then.
Sure. Okay. Cool. The only reason I was saying that Miss Piggy is not Letty is because Kermit is not like Dom never has reservations about marrying or being with Letty, and Kermit's just like, well, I don't know. Like,
He's just wishy-washy. He's just wishy-washy that's like his character traits.
Okay, fair enough.
They match in stature of like hierarchy of where they are in the family, but like character traits wise. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. Like Fonzie has to be Brian because like Dom and him are best friends, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair. Who's Gonzo?
I feel like Gonzo gotta be Tej.
Okay, why is that?
I don't know, because he's like kind of screwing up, but like also like
Or
actually
is
does.
Tej Roman? Or is Gonzo Roman, I mean? So the main characters, we got Kermit is Dom, Miss Piggy is Letty. Who's
Yes.
Fozzie Bear? You said Fozzie's Brian?
Yeah, Fozzie's Brian because he's Kermit's best friend.
Is Gonzo Roman or is Gonzo Tej?
He might be.
Because
Yeah,
if
he
you're saying
might
he's
be-
screwing up, like that feels more like a Roman thing.
Yeah, he might be Roman. I don't know her name, but like the one with like the long blonde hair. That one would kind of have to be like Mia, like the one that was like, like far out, like this one.
Okay.
Because she's kind of like an auxiliary character. Who else are like the main Muppets?
I looked on the main Muppets on the wiki, and
the
like
two
it's
critics that are in the movie gotta be like Mr. Nobody and Little Nobody.
or Leo and Santos too. Just like they're bickering, like a. I like
No,
like
that's
Mr.
the bomb
Nobody.
guys.
Yeah.
That's the bomb crew.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's who I would make Leo and Santos, is like the crew that was like bomb, 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 like those guys.
Beaker is probably Tej. I feel like Beaker is Tej.
Ooh, no, not Beaker, the scientist.
Yeah, he's
Beaker's
just
the
like-
one that gets exploded.
Oh, yeah. What's his name? Dr. Bunsen Honeydew.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely
Okay.
Tej. Okay, so Gonzo is Roman. That makes sense.
Who's Animal? I feel like Animal's another one of the main Fast characters.
Definitely. Maybe John Cena?
Okay.
Right? And then the dad from Modern Family could be Hobbs. Or is the bird Hobbs, like the bird cop from the CIA?
Ooh. I feel like they're almost Hobbs and Shaw. I mean, Shaw's not a cop, but like
They are Hobbs and Shaw, but which one's which?
Ty Burrell's playing a Frenchman, and that's closer to the UK. So I feel like Ty Burrell
Okay.
is Shaw.
Yes, and he also is like more proper, like all the European jokes for sure.
So
right?
yeah, so that makes Hobbs Sam Eagle. He's Sam the His name is Sam the American Eagle. I mean, come on,
That's
Mr.
true.
America, Captain America, basically, right?
Okay, definitely. Who do we
The
got left?
Swedish Chef. Is he someone of note for our family?
Ooh, no, I don't think we have like any real foreigners, right?
I mean, they were all foreigners. That's kind of the thing, right? Like
No,
they're
but
all.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't know. I feel like that's a good pretty. So we have Dom as Kermit.
Yes.
Is there okay? Here's the thing: are there any main family members that we're missing? Because we've done Dom, we've done Letty, we've done Mia, we've done Brian, we've done Tej and Roman, Hobbs and Shaw, Han and
Leo
Giselle.
and
Who are they?
Santos.
Who are they? Han and Giselle.
I don't know.
I mean, is Giselle the Swedish Chef?
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense, but we're running out of options here.
That makes sense.
Are most Muppets dudes? I guess most Muppets are dudes.
Yeah, there's like a few girls, but there's not many.
Okay.
Ramsey, we don't have a Ramsey. Yeah, that works for me. That
Fair enough,
was pretty
fair
good
enough.
though. That was
Yeah.
a good rundown. I like that.
And then the only other note that I took that I have for this is that in the end, as expected, family prevails. That, they are able to do the Muppet stack or whatever. Like they are able to win.
Muppet Ladder, yeah.
Muppet Ladder, be triumphant. Love wins.
Yeah, and even Tina Fey like lets Kermit out of jail because he has family.
He proved that his family, yeah. And then he's like, all right, we're going to do one more show, one night only, in the Gulag in Siberia. And they go there and, it's great. And then poor Tina Fey, she gets time for a solo, the end.
It gets cut. Yeah, I love it.
So there is the only trivia, like there's not a lot of trivia about this that was like,
Interesting.
I looked at the trivia and I was just like, whatever. So it's an hour 47 minutes. It's the longest Muppet movie to date, and there's an extended edition on Blu-ray, which is it's not the version on Disney Plus. I don't know what this is. It adds 12 minutes. So it makes it a 2-hour, which feels way too long. Like I feel like this is.
I'm sure it's just maybe like another musical number or like longer musical numbers. If
That's
I had to
probably
guess.
fair. Yeah, but I feel like anytime you can like just cut things out, like the difference between like 2 hours and like an hour 45 is so big. Especially because like
is.
there's probably like 10 like there's fun credits, like there's the fireworks credits, there's like them literally pulling the credits up, like the text up the screen, like that's all good. I like that. But the fact that this is like an hour probably 35 ish, and then there's like 10 minutes of that, like it feels like a good length, and it moves and it books and like it's cool. A 2-hour thing, even if it's like a lot of credits or whatever, just like I don't want that.
I agree. The breeziness is definitely helpful for sure.
Yeah. And no offense to the Muppets or this movie in particular, just like if it's a difference between like a 2-hour and like an hour 40, almost always shorter movie.
Yep.
Did you have any other notes, any other thoughts about Muppets Most Wanted?
I cut them all in, but I have one last one, and it was actually I have to attribute it to Rachel. She caught it when
Okay.
they're doing I'm number one, he's number two, like that musical number. He starts out, he's on the piano, and he goes like, I'm number one, and then he's like space, 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 space. You're number two. He quadruple spaced them.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't catch it, but she did, and I
it's a
thought
Zack
that was
Attack
funny.
reference.
Exactly. But I'm glad that I finally saw this because when I got to see the evil Kermit meme, I was like, oh shit, this is where this is from.
There hasn't been another Muppet movie since this, right? Like I think they've talked about it, but I don't think that there's been like a main theatrically released Muppets movie since this.
I have absolutely zero idea because like I haven't thought about the Muppets in so long, but it's totally reinvigorated my love of them. And like I said, I'm gonna probably blow through all the previous movies in the next week.
Sure. Okay. Fair. The first one is Jason Segel writing it and starring in it with Amy Adams. And so this movie begins and they're looking at the fireworks, but just their backs because they're not in this
Yes,
movie.
yeah.
So it's those, and then like we said, there's a bunch from the 70s and 80s and whatever, and even before maybe, or 90s, who knows what. But like there's a bunch of the movies. I think they're all on Disney Plus. There's like the Muppets Zone or something. What do they call it? Hold on. There's like a whole
there's
like
a
when you
Muppet
search.
Zone.
I think when you call that's just like what they call the section on Disney.
Oh, I didn't see that. I just I guess I just was searching for the movie and
Or
missed
maybe
it. And
it didn't show up on here. It showed up somewhere else, but there's the Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted, the new ones. Haunted Mansion, Muppets Now. This might be some TV specials too. Treasure Island, The Muppet Show, The Muppet Movie Original, The Muppets, which is a TV series, The Great Muppet Caper, A Muppets Christmas, Letters to Santa, Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Babies, Muppet Babies Show and Tell, Muppet Moments, and Muppet Babies Playdate. So there's like 15 different Muppets things on Disney, including some TV shows. So
that
lots of stuff.
doesn't seem like all the movies though.
No, but I'm sure, they're probably out there in one way or another, so.
Oh yeah, here's the things at the top. Muppets Babies. I don't think I ever watched Muppet Babies. I only watched I think I watched the show. I watched a bunch of The Great Muppet Caper. Maybe that was the one I'm thinking. Yeah, that. The Muppets Take Manhattan was one that I remember I really, really liked, but I can't find that here. So,
The Muppets Take Manhattan from 1984, directed by Frank Oz, is available to stream. It's on Tubi with ads for free.
oh, cool, nice.
And then you can rent it without ads for like $3 or $4 just about anywhere else. But yeah, it's apparently on Tubi if you want to watch that for free. So cool.
Cool, yeah.
All right, Joe, you want to watch a trailer for this movie?
I would love to.
So there's a Muppets YouTube channel, which is the one that posted this. So this is 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. Official trailer, Muppets Most Wanted, The Muppets, 4.2 million views, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Let me know when you are ready to do this thing.
I'm ready whenever you are, brother.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play. I think I've seen this a million times.
I'm curious to see if you have.
Has stolen the greatest treasures.
Okay.
Escaped the greatest prisons. And he bears a strong
It's fun that they're not until there. Yeah.
to someone.
That, like, it took all that time before you actually saw a Muppet, right? So,
Yeah.
pretty funny.
It's Constantine, the world's most dangerous frog. Check this out.
Does he have a French accent sometimes and a Russian accent other times, or is it just Russian? I don't remember.
Who, Constantine?
Yeah.
I think it's all over the place. And I think it's kind of the joke. It's just like, how do you
Okay,
not tell if
yeah.
he's not Kermit? Because he doesn't sound the same. He doesn't sound like Kermit, so.
You're going to be here a while.
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog here.
Yeah. See? I've seen that a bunch.
Yeah.
I am Kermit, and now you guys have all the freedom you want. What? When do I do the indoor running of the bulls?
Yeah, all of these things are so much fun. Selma Hayek, we didn't mention her. She's in it.
Dominic, bad guy?
Fudgy.
Also, that, incredible. Like, they just tell you who the bad guy is off the rip. I
Yeah.
really love it.
Like, that's like that's in the first like 6 or 7 minutes of the movie, right? It's just
That's
like
what I mean,
very,
yeah.
very, very quick, very early.
Get it, boys.
And they just, like, lay it on you. Like, he's the bad guy. Don't
Yep.
worry about
Do
it.
you guys think that Kermit's been acting a little
Yeah, the movie
weird
doesn't make you
lately?
think, but like in a good way, right? Just like
Yes.
just sit back, relax, and like enjoy these like gentle family jokes.
Yep. And we always laugh. It's like, expect the audience to be smarter. And it's like, well,
Yep.
not when you're doing a kid's show that's like
Yep.
Zach Galifianakis, Puff Daddy.
Waka waka, yeah. Because the other thing like about this trailer is that like like literally any audience like I think they probably put this before like every movie because like for kids movies obviously for like adult movies like there
Yep.
there might be kids in there or if you grew up with the Muppets or whatever, so I just feel like every movie I saw in 2014, 2013, whatever had this. Even though I don't watch trailers, I'm just like I get it.
Yeah.
Most Wanted.
I am not Constantine.
Lights out!
That's a good joke, too.
I can't see anything. You'll have to wait.
Tina Fey's great, man. I love her.
Tina
So-
Fey is great in this movie. She's a lot of fun. I agree.
So. All right, time for the letterbox game.
Oh.
So, for reference sake, Mad Max. I didn't even look at the numbers. I don't even know if this is going to be easy or hard. Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most popular films of Letterboxd, 1.1 million views. Muppets Most Wanted, 2014, directed by James Bobin, starring Ricky Gervais, Ty Burrell, Tina Fey, Stephen Whitmore, who voices Kermit and Statler and Beaker and Lips and Rizzo and Fufu, has been seen by how many people?
125,000.
You are too high.
80,000.
You're much closer, still too high.
63,000.
179. 75,000 people have seen this. Average rating of 3.0. I looked
Okay.
up the 2011 one, had a 3.5, so people like that one more, but this is a heist movie, so this is why we did it here.
Yeah.
Most common rating, overwhelmingly a 3. People just like, yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
3 stars. How many out of those 75,000 have this in their top 4?
7.
Way too low.
Really?
Yep.
100?
Still too low, but you're much closer. One more guess.
115.
130 people have Muppets Most Wanted in their top 4.
That's insane. That's really high to me.
We're going to Jacob Wayne at Jacob Wayne, who did 2 reviews. The one I chose was singer/dancer/murderer, Danny Trejo. So Jacob Wayne has top 4 favorite movies. Muppets Most Wanted, he's number 4. Number 3 is a movie we have mentioned in this episode a couple times.
We've mentioned it in this episode a couple times. Is it another Muppet movie?
Nope.
Ooh, mentioned in this episode a couple times.
At least once, maybe just once, but at least once.
Okay. Give me a little more.
It's your favorite movie.
It's literally?
No.
Oh, La La Land.
La La Land is his number 3 favorite movie. La La Land
Okay.
and Muppets Most Wanted. Number 1 is a movie that we've done for this podcast, that we've had in this game a lot, that you never seem to remember.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
We've never done this for this podcast.
We never done Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for the podcast.
Yeah, I'm saying his number 1 movie we've done for the podcast.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. There you go. You finally got it.
Yes, I'm getting
Oh,
there.
look at
American
that.
Psycho.
FAQ.
American Psycho, the last one. American Psycho.
No.
Fuck.
When at Doc's house in 1955, why does Marty say he's come from a long way away when in reality he only came from across town? Because he came through time. You fucking idiot.
Hey, that was good trivia.
It's the FAQs, man. I don't know. The second one is kind of hard. The thing was, I looked at a bunch of these, and like a lot of, like not a lot of them, but about half of them. So maybe a lot of them, depending on how you define a lot. About half of them were just like Muppets 2011, Muppets 2014, Muppets Take Manhattan, and some other random ass movie. I'm like, this is
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
So this fourth one, I don't know that you've seen it. I don't know that you know it, but it's a Coen Brothers movie from about a decade ago, which is a very big hint and narrows it down tremendously.
I have no idea.
Stars Oscar Isaac.
Nope. Keep going.
It's him carrying... I like that if you know the movie, it's just like, oh, it's the one movie that they did together. Him carrying a cat almost the entire movie. Him as a musician.
No idea.
Carey Mulligan, John Goodman, Garrett Hedlund, Justin Timberlake, and Adam Driver in
What was it?
Inside Llewyn Davis.
No, never seen it.
There you go.
That's
Another musical,
cool,
though.
though.
Another musical. So
It
Back to
is?
the
Inside
Future,
Llewyn Davis is a musical?
It's kind of a musical. He's a musician, so I don't know if I would call it a musical, but there's definitely music throughout it.
Okay. That's a good cast. Would I like this movie? I'm not going to ask you if it was good or not, because I'm sure that it's good. But, would I like this movie?
I only saw it once in theaters. I didn't love it because it's very depressing. I was just like, I don't want to see this. But, Oscar
If
Isaac's
you
great.
say that this movie is depressing, that's a terrible sign for this
Well,
movie.
in Greenwich Village in the early 1960s, gifted but volatile folk musician Llewyn Davis struggles with money, relationships, and his uncertain future following the suicide of his singing partner.
Doesn't sound like a movie for me. Guess that's why I haven't seen it yet.
So a lot of people, this is one of the ones that people an average rating of 4 on Letterboxd, 4, and then 5 stars, the most common reviews. People love this movie. I only saw it the once. I want to see it again, but it's just I don't want to see a crabby guy on screen the entire time. But I get it. I want to see it again. I just haven't. But
Makes sense.
so 3 musicals or 3 music movies. We got Muppets Most Wanted and La La Land and Inside Llewyn Davis, and then Back to the Future has music. Is a big deal in it. So.
Music is a big deal. Yeah, there is a musical number in it. There definitely is. So
Jacob Wayne, a music guy.
I was thinking about that when we were watching Thief the other day. There's another shot before they go to the bar, before he arrives at the bar, that there's another shot of a band, and I was like, I get that we have tons of music in movies now and lots of popular songs, but we often don't get a shot of a band in movies as much as we did.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
And then I was thinking in Fast and the Furious we get the T-Pain DJ thing, but I guess now it's just DJs kind of have replaced that.
I feel like bands aren't really around. You think of Roadhouse, there's the band in the cage.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you once again to Michael McGahon for picking
thank you.
this movie.
I'm excited. Thank you, Michael McGahon, because I will now watch a bunch of old Muppets movies for the next week, so I appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah. So the next 3 weeks, we're doing something special. I don't remember if I said it on the podcast or not, but I'm going to Spain for 2.5 weeks for a music festival. Thank you so much. So, Joe, you and I have already recorded, and I've edited and scheduled commentary tracks for the first 3 Fast and Furious movies. So the next 3 Tuesdays on June 7th, June 14th, and June 21st, The Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, and The Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. We watch those together, separate, but together at the same time,
Yes,
and
we
recorded
did.
commentaries. So the thinking is, start the episode. We will tell you when to play the movie. Watch the movie while you listen to the episode. You don't have to. I think it probably would be better too, but also you could just, sit back and enjoy. And maybe if you're not watching the movie, speed up the playback a little bit because there's probably gonna be gaps in there. But
I think we and from what I remember, like the first one kind of goes off the rails a little bit. Maybe the second one too. We talk about some weird stuff. That's
It was fun.
not. Yeah, it's good. Like I enjoyed it, but we definitely talk about some weird stuff at points that are like things that I don't think we ramble about too much during the episodes. Although we talk about a lot of weird stuff, so
Yeah.
who knows?
So those are the next 3 movies we're doing. The original first 3 movies, 1, 2, 3. After that, on June 28th, at the end of the month, we are back with Fast and Furious 6. So we'll go from the pit stops from there. For the next 3 weeks, commentary tracks. So no break, no interruption, no repeated content. There's going to be all new stuff for you the next 3 weeks. Just commentary tracks for the first 3 movies. So hopefully they're good. And if you like them, we'll probably do more... Probably more so for the Patreon, and we're going to have a poll for the patrons if we want to do some bonus episodes of those instead of just like regular episodes. But, because the Patreon can get weird with it and do like other movies that aren't just the Fast and Furious. Like we could do Point Break, I think we talked about. Like, there's definitely more things we could do. But on the main feed, eventually, I guess the goal would be to do commentaries for all, however many movies at some point, right? So,
yeah.
I will be back later. No breaking content. Just keep emailing in. Like, I would love to come back to a really overflowing email.
Ooh,
bag.
that would be fun.
Because we've had, it's summer. Weather's getting warmer. People getting busier. People aren't
you need to
writing
take
as
a bunch
much.
of stickers. You need to take a bunch of stickers with you to sticker everywhere.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I always forget to do this, and Rachel always mentions it, and like I leave them in like the side door of my car, but I always forget to like put them in. Like we'll see like a telephone pole that has like a bunch of stickers on it. She's like, "Oh, throw a sticker on that." I'm like, "Well, I don't fucking have them." So
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel.
no, I mean the idea is great. It's my fault for
I get
sure.
I get it. For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFast2Forever.com and our store at TooFast2Forever.shop. And come back the next 3 weeks for commentary tracks. Or if you don't want to listen to those, come back in 4 weeks for Fast and Furious 6. But I think you'll enjoy the commentary tracks. I hope you enjoy those. And just do that thing.
Yeah.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we will tell you all about it
When Joey gets back from Spain.